Hello and welcome to Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday, except for this week where we got 5 movies for you. But before we get into today's movie, I want to talk to you about our Patreon. Over at patreon.com/driveindoublefeaturepodcast, we have a bunch of fun bonus episodes, and it's only $5 a month to access that. And if you pay for that, you'll help support the show. But of course, if you don't want to pay for that, you'll have all the main show content right here. But today, on this Thursday, we're keeping the train rolling towards Friday the 13th with another Friday the 13th. I'm going to tell you the title of this one. It might not sound like we have one for you tomorrow, but Jason Goes to Hell, the Final Friday from 1993. So this series has jumped out of the 80s and into the 90s.
Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. The Final Friday. They're not lying to me this time, right?
It's all that and a bag of chips.
It really is. It really is.
This movie is definitely different.
Yeah, it's different. All right. I don't even know. I didn't know what to expect while going into this. The thing that I knew the most about this was the VHS cover, because I swear this stared at me every time I went to video stores back in the day with Jason's mask and then like a giant weird snake going through it. It looked cool.
I remember this one. Yep, I definitely remember this one, seeing this all the time in the video store.
Yeah, it was like one of those staples. And I don't know, the idea that Jason Goes to Hell, interesting, right? And this is actually, so Paramount had done all the movies before this one, and actually New Line had bought the rights to this. So now the people that are making the Freddy movies are now making the Jason movies. So let's see how this fares, how this works. And I'm going to be very honest with you. Jason Goes to Hell, I didn't like it. I really didn't like this one. There's parts that I think are admirable, but at the end of it, I was like, no, I just wasn't into it.
I thought this movie was hilarious.
I get it. It's so wild to me, the places that they go in this movie. You know, it pulls a Halloween 3, right? Where Jason isn't even really in this movie. No hockey mask, no nothing. Just the soul of Jason.
Well, I mean, there is a hockey mask. I mean, he does have it
at
on.
One point.
At the beginning, at the end of the movie, yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, there are just so many scenes in here where I was just like, it was so funny to me. And because they killed Jason off in the first 5 minutes of the movie. They blow him up.
Yes. Yeah.
And honestly, that's probably the smartest thing done out of any of the movies. Mm-hmm. Like, this is like you know where this guy is, just go kill him, get a whole army and just blow him up.
It only took him 30 years to do it, or however long the timeline is now.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, no, I do think the intro is funny because, you know, it starts as cliche as it could be, where a woman just kind of walks her way into this cabin. She gets completely naked, of course, hops in the shower. And you know what? That just makes Jason just giddy. Like, he's like, oh, you know, he gets all happy from it. And then it's like, okay, I'm time to kill, time to chase. I don't know. I feel like, well, come to find out, it's all a bait and switch. But you think Jason would be smart enough to catch on? Like, why is this girl just showing up? It's not a party. It's not a camp. She's just here to take a shower, I guess.
You know, well, I don't know, because the movie, the logic for this is kind of all over the place because, you know, at first, you know, you think Jason in all the other movies kills very indiscriminately. He really doesn't care who he's killing. But in this movie, apparently he does care a lot about who he's killing and they do. Okay, huge spoiler.
Oh yeah.
But they do the Michael Myers twist and have Jason has a secret sister and she's had a kid. Mm-hmm. So Jason really wants to kill them and steal their bodies. So now they not only are they doing Halloween, but they're also doing like, I guess, child's play where he's trying to
Yeah.
jump into the body. Jason now has supernatural powers.
Yes, yeah. Jason now has lore like that. This movie it's like the first time in Friday the 13th that they somehow are like, oh yeah, let's do like a deep story. Let's have a lot of continuity and a crazy backstory. It is absolutely insane the amount of story they try to like push into this movie. Like, yeah, you remember all this stuff, right? There's so many things that happen in this movie. There's so much body hopping. I don't know. It's interesting because, like you said, they kill Jason right at the beginning of the movie. They're like, Jason's dead, but his heart is still beating, right? And then they go all the way to coroner, and it's maybe one of the worst autopsies of all time because this dude is chopping and hacking, just kind of going through Jason's bits. And then I love the other guy there who's like, Jason's dead. I can say whatever I want to him. It just starts cursing at him. And I love that so much.
I was going to let you know. So you noticed one of those guards, right? The guards.
Yeah.
One of the guards said, like, "Oh, Jason's a pussy."
Yeah,
that was Kane. That was Kane Hodder.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fun little cameo. Well, what I find so you know how we talk about how like Kane Hodder joined Friday the 13th so late and he's so iconic. It's once again weird because one of his movies out of the few he's done, he's not even Jason for most of it. Like, it's weird.
Well, he had said, he said this was the one movie where he was in makeup the least amount of time, but it was like the worst makeup because he said like that whole outfit, it was all molded together so he can never take off the head, like whenever he was like in between shots. So anytime he'd catch a breath, like he just had to like breathe in that mask like over and over again. But I actually did kind of like the design of Jason for this one. I mean, because it's like Jason is just so hasn't taken the mask off for so long that it's his skin is growing into the mask, and it just looks very grotesque. I thought it looked good, but the corner scene was probably the part I laughed the hardest because this guy, like the coroner, because you don't know what the extent of Jason's power is, and this guy, he just kind of goes into like this trance when he's looking at Jason's body, and then he picks up Jason's heart, and then he just goes like, I just like starts devouring it and like yelling, and it was so funny to me.
Yeah, so over the top. He's like chowing down at it. I guess we didn't talk about it, but like this movie kind of has a weird narrative at the beginning because it has this whole intro where it's like what do you call it? Trashy news. Like they show dead bodies on TV and everything.
Well, it's implying that Jason is like the world's most prolific serial killer.
And
he said like Jason's responsible for like, I think he said something like 83 deaths or something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
But that newscaster, he ends up being a very big part of the story later.
Yeah, he's a big part of the story. I was surprised. I thought it was like just like a one-off thing that happened. But this is where I was getting to. We actually get introduced to one of the best characters in the movie through this, and that is the bounty hunter Creighton Duke. He is probably the best character in this movie, in my opinion. This dude is just insane.
Oh, he's great. I was wanting like a spin-off movie with him. Like, he's a star, and then it's him just taking out like other supernatural characters. Because when the documentary, he said he was kind of shooting that like Quint was in Jaws, and he had even done like the same speech where it's like, for $500,000, they'll get you the mask, it'll get you the whole damn thing, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Quint was saying. And I thought he was great. I mean, he is hamming it up big time in this movie, like just acting like a total psycho.
Yeah. He's just awful. I love the one of the best lines in this movie is whenever the TV reporter's like, let me just say something, and what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Jason Voorhees. And he said, and he's like, it reminds me of a little girl holding a hot dog through the hole of a donut.
It reminds me of a little girl in a pink dress and a
Pink.
hot dog going through a donut hole.
Yeah, and he's just smiling the whole time, like this cocky smile. Wow, what a line! Someone wrote that.
Yeah, somebody wrote that.
Yeah, but no, this guy, he knows the whole Jason backstory. For whatever reason, he understands that Jason can hop bodies, but needs a long lost relative to hop into in order to be Jason again. And he goes to a diner that's Jason themed. It's a Jason Voorhees themed diner.
Jason's dead. 2-for-1 burgers.
Yeah, Jason fingers, I think, is one of the menu items. It's so silly.
The burger patties are shaped like hockey masks.
Mm-hmm. No, I would eat there. I think that should exist.
Yeah, probably does somewhere.
I'm sure wherever wherever there's a real Camp Crystal Lake. But no, I mean, this scene's really funny because once again, Creighton Duke gets to have a good time, and is that one of the women that works at the diner is married to a cop, and they get in a huge fight, and it's like, oh yeah, she's still your man because she hasn't had a taste of Creighton Duke yet.
And oh my God, I know he is such a slime ball because, and he just totally knocks out the sheriff too.
Yeah. I will say, so I still, this movie is a little all over the place for me. I didn't love it, but one thing that I can appreciate is that they've moved to New Line, and you could tell that New Line's able to get away with a lot more violence wise. Like, this movie is way more violent than a lot of the last movies have been.
It's definitely probably the most graphic movie up until now.
Yeah. There's a lot of good kills. There's a lot of kills in this movie. Actually, so many people die. It's like, it's a movie that hops main characters a lot because it feels like main characters just like, oh, we are setting up somebody and now they're dead. Like, yeah, it's not afraid to get rid of people, which I like a lot.
Well, so one of the two main characters are really this girl who had just had a baby, who is secretly, it's revealed she's Jason's niece.
Mm-hmm.
And then her estranged baby, like father of the child, like they were dating, but they're not anymore type of thing. But that there's a scene where that guy is out driving and he picks up these teenagers and he's driving and these kids are like, yeah, we're going to go camping at Camp Crystal Lake. And he's like, oh, kids gonna be going out, smoking some dope, having a little premarital sex.
Mm-hmm. Gonna get slaughtered. Yeah.
And they're staring at him like, okay. Like,
all right, weirdo.
Yeah. And then he's like, hey, but that I like that scene. He dropped him off, and those three campers, totally pointless. They get murdered, but
they're just cannon fodder.
Yeah, but it's a great scene because when she gets impaled in the tent, that's, like I said, that's when you know like how graphic this movie's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Now, and the blood effects are really good, especially for this. What's weird to me is what this movie shot on, though. It looks like a straight to VHS movie, but it was a theatrical movie, and there's something to the quality of it.
I was gonna say something later about that, but yeah, it is. It looks very cheap.
Yes, yeah. I mean,
just not in terms of the effects, but just in terms of camera quality. Mm-hmm. And also too, I was like, even the music sounds very cheap too.
Yeah.
And I was looking, I'm like, did they get a different composer? And I'm like, no, it's the same guy who did the original movie. And I'm just like, ugh, like it sounds awful.
Yeah, the music sounds like video game music, but not good video game music. It's like very poorly made. I totally agree. I wasn't into it.
It sounds like straight to DVD music, just like when like when you watch those really crappy family movies or whatever you rent, and then it has like that like the like twinkly type of music. It sounds like
Yeah.
that.
No, yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. But no, this movie got a theatrical release. It made money. It made the least out of any Friday the 13th at that time, but it cost $3 million to make. They could do more with $3 million, I feel like, but they maybe spent it all in effects, because there are some really fun. There's some really fun stuff going on in this movie. So as far as plot goes, it does a lot of hopping around at this point. And this is kind of where it loses me, is whenever Jason's hopping from soul to soul and we're having to follow multiple characters. And it's at some point it did start not making sense to me in a way.
I just the part I was like, okay, he's jumping bodies, whatever. But then but part of me was like, why couldn't he just stay in the same body? And they're just like, oh, well, he gets weak or whatever.
Yeah.
But like the time frame is very off the wall.
Yes.
That I wanted to talk about the first soul transfer scenes though. So I mean, after the guy eats a heart, the coroner eats a heart, he goes and he kidnaps one of the police officers, and it's such a weird scene because this is a Jason movie, and Jason, quotes, has taken this cop and tied him down to a table, like an operating table, and strips him naked, and then shaves the guy's mustache because I guess and canonically Jason hates mustaches.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess if you were really paying attention, Ryan, in the fourth movie that there was a slight hint that he hates mustaches.
Well, I was trying to think of the mustache people he did kill, and I'm like, I think he did kill a mustache guy in 3.
Yeah.
The general store owner, the one that wasn't wiped after taking a dump.
He had a mustache.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Makes sense. He didn't kill him over cleanliness, I guess, or maybe it's like a mixture of both, because his mustache is looking a little wild. He wanted to trim him up, make him look good a little. No, I think that seems so weird. With he's holding him down, he's like shaving him and everything. And it comes out of left field. It comes out of nowhere. I feel like there's no setup for that scene whatsoever.
And then the guy's like bug looking black tongue like goes down the other character's mouth. Like, that's how Jason transfers his souls. He French kisses everybody that wants to take the body.
Yeah, the guy who wrote this, I feel like must have just been like, you know what? Let's do whatever we want with this one. We're just gonna. I feel like doing my own thing.
No, I have some backstory for that in the documentary. So like you said, this movie transferred over to New Line Cinema. And I don't know if you noticed, but one of the producers of this movie was actually the original director, Sean Cunningham. Yep. So he's back for the series, and Sean Cunningham apparently does not like any of the Friday the 13th movies that were not his movies. So,
gotcha. Okay.
That's why right now, like, the rights for Friday the 13th and Jason are all over the place.
Yeah.
But anyway, the director of this movie was a very young, up-and-coming director. He had just graduated film school. He had gotten some buzz from this short movie that he made. And right when he got to set, Sean Cunningham was basically saying, I don't care what you do, I want that stupid hockey mask out of the movie.
Yeah, I guess you're right, because he had no point in the hockey mask. That was like way after like he had left. So interesting.
Yeah. So and this director too, he just said he was way over his head right now. And like the first day of the set, he's just like, oh wow, I have no idea what I'm doing. And he admits that in the documentary. And that's because he was only like 23 or something like that when he was directing this movie.
He was like fresh, brand new.
Yeah, and he was doing the 9th movie in a horror series.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the attitude was, because the waitress who was Jason's sister, she she was one of the older people on the set, and she was just saying like it was a very young, inexperienced crew that really didn't seem like they knew what they were doing a lot of times. So I think that kind of explains a lot of it.
I could see that.
And why it's like that.
Gotcha. So it's kind of a ragtag New Line. Man, you think New Line would pick up a property like Friday the 13th and want to do something big with it? And obviously they had plans to do something big with it, which we'll talk about in the end, but it's like, I don't know, it seems like they just handed it off to people to just get it done. Just make some money real fast.
But yeah, it is. But it goes so crazy, like the bounds they go to. So like I said, the newscaster character, he does play a very prominent role. So the waitress character gets killed, and the main dude, he's accused of murder. He's arrested. There's another sidetrack. There's that scene too where Creighton Duke is also in jail.
Yes, great.
Anytime this guy asks a question, he's like, "Oh, you're gonna have to pay the price," and he breaks the guy's finger every time the guy asks him a question.
Yeah, I love that, and he cracks it every time. But I mean, Creighton Duke delivers. He knows the whole back. He's read every novelization of Friday the 13th, so he has all the info that he could ever use.
Man, he's a huge fan.
That's what I mean. I guess so.
But I like that because he's just totally hamming up. He's like, man, I don't think you could pay that price. This is a price way too big for you. And the guy's like, I'm ready, and his hand's like all messed up.
No.
But it's a diversion, so that way he gets out of jail. That's why he was breaking his fingers.
Yes, yeah, exactly. God, I'm trying to think about what else. Well, okay, you were talking about the reporter and about how he has a nefarious plot where he's hiding the body in his place.
Oh, yeah, it goes. It is one of the most insane things I've heard in a movie. Like,
yes,
bar none. One of the craziest ideas I've ever heard. Where this woman had gotten murdered. She was taken to the morgue. This newscaster for a trashy news station, and meanwhile he's dating this woman's daughter too. That's where it's revealed. So he goes to the morgue, steals the dead body, and places it in the Jason Voorhees' old house, because apparently Jason has like a house in the suburbs now. But
yeah, of course, you don't remember that.
But he goes there, and he calls up his producer or whatever. He's like, yeah, I got the body here, right here now. And then when they show up, I'll be here to rescue the day, type of thing. It'll be a huge story.
Yeah, but God, like one of the coolest things in this movie, at least effects wise, is we actually get to see what it looks like when Jason transfers bodies. And the part where the dude's body melts and it all falls apart, like his jawbone comes off and it like melts blood. Really cool effect right there. There's multiple of those.
One other thing too, you probably saw this, but one thing in Jason's house was the Book of the Dead from Evil Dead.
Yes, the Necronomicon. Yeah, is in there, and he opens through it, thumbs through it.
Like not even like a hint. Like it is that book.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's not like, oh, nice little Easter egg. No, they're definitely setting something up. Well, there's comic books, Ash versus Jason versus Freddy. So I think they were just trying to make that like a thing, like, oh yeah, the shared universe is here, but nothing else ever happens with Evil Dead and Friday the 13th.
No, I mean, unless you're a comic book reader, but no, there was never anything that came to fruition. But it was still like, oh, like they're not hiding that at all.
No, and that seems weird too. Like it's very out of nowhere, a little long, and he's like, yep, looking through the Necronomicon real quick. I loved it though. I'm here. You know what? It's cool. It's the Marvel universe before the Marvel
Right,
universe.
that's right. Kevin Feige. You think he just stole from this movie?
I think so, and I think New Line should sue.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's another scene too, which I laughed at was so this girl she'd gotten like her friend or something like that to watch her baby,
Mm-hmm.
and the girl takes the baby to the diner where she works, but the owner of the diner, the woman there, she's angry like this baby is here. She's like, you get that baby out of here. It's like this is a diner, not a nursery. Like just the thought of somebody bringing a baby to a diner is just enough to like set her off.
Yeah, no, I mean, don't bring a baby to a diner. He'll get you in a lot of trouble. But I love that this diner is such it's such an important part of this movie. Like a lot of the movie takes place at this diner because that's where the baby's stored. The baby does end up stored there. And there's a great fight towards the end because there's like a whole cast of characters. But one of them gets their head dumped into a fryer and their face gets fried off. But then the lady that you were just talking about yelling gets like smacked in the mouth, and like her mouth, like her whole jaw breaks, and it looks like something out of a cartoon. It's hard to explain. Like her lips are sunken in.
They get caved in. Her whole mouth gets caved
her
in.
mouth. Yeah,
and it just imagine like like the cartoons where a character eats like something super sour and their mouth like gets super
yeah.
sucked in. Like that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it was so silly to see like in
I laughed at that part too
because
it was so fun. I'm just like that was like I thought the same thing. I was like that was just like a cartoon.
Yeah. No, I love that bit. I guess I watched the documentary portion for this. And they got an interview with the baby, the actual the girl who played the baby is like, I don't remember anything from it, but you know what? It's cool that they're out there.
I'd had the same thought.
Yeah, you think so?
I'd be like, hell yeah, I was in Friday the 13th Part 9. I'd be telling everybody.
Yeah, I would too. Be like, yeah, I'm the baby in that one. That would be pretty cool.
Okay, well, I guess we should get into the finale a little bit now. So they go to the house. They're in Jason's house, and the body melts, and then this what would you call it? This like what is this? How would you describe this creature? Like a little mini gargoyle with like no wings type of thing?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it.
It looks like a lizard with like flesh, like melting flesh.
Yeah, it's so gross looking. It's like gross and like it looks like it's melting, right? Like the whole time. It's weird. Yeah. This movie is also kind of a creature feature in a way, right? Because there's the worm that connects all the Jasons together, that kind of like slithers around.
Oh yeah. Because so eventually the newscaster gets possessed by Jason, and they chop that guy's head off, and all this stuff like starts coming out of his body. It literally looks like I was gonna say like Chinese food, like noodles type of thing.
Yeah, kind of.
Like ramen noodles, like super stringy, curly noodles.
Yeah. No, exactly. I always think that effect is really funny. But no, so yeah, there's gargoyle that shows up. The worm is there. What's their name? Oh, we didn't talk about the dagger, the magic dagger that can kill Jason.
Just so stupid. It's so dumb. And because now apparently, so Creighton Duke apparently knows all this Jason lore that's now, because before anybody could just kill Jason or do away with him or whatever. Now it's like, oh no, now only his family member can kill him, and only this with this special dagger.
Yeah, this dagger that also transforms in like that person's hand too, because like it gets thrown at her and she holds it and it like transforms into a nice blade. It's so weird. I don't know who came up with this, and it was like 9 movies in. All right, it's time to get the magic sword.
Yeah. I think they should have brought the magic sword out in the first movie.
I think that would have helped everything. uh, Even though I guess they're killing his mom in that movie.
Well, they could kill the mom, and that
Yeah,
still
I
would
think
count.
so. Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Man, does that mean Sean S. Cunningham just doesn't like that Jason's son just became the killer? Or sorry, Pamela Voorhees' son became the killer?
I honestly, I do.
That's so wild.
I really don't think he likes a lot of these Friday the 13th movies because I mean, for him, it was Pamela Voorhees was the killer.
Yeah,
and
true.
and Jason was. I mean, according to him and the original screenwriter of the first Friday the 13th, Jason died in the lake.
Yes, yeah.
And then that was where it was, and like there wasn't supposed to be any more sequels, but you can't do that.
No.
It's so I really don't think he does like any of this stuff. So I think he was really trying to do some off the wall stuff. But I mean, I've seen some of his other movies. I saw Deep Star 6.
Okay.
And that movie was bad.
Oh, I'm sure.
I did not like that one.
I can hear the name of that movie, and I can already tell you that it sounds like a bad movie.
It's because it's kind of it's kind of like a horror version of The Abyss, which even that's giving it a little too much credit, but still.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, they put the knife into Jason, they kill him, and Jason starts getting sucked into hell.
Yep, he does it like the title says.
But at first, like the main dude starts getting dragged into hell, and did you notice she like contemplated saving this guy? Like after all this guy has done for her in this movie, like gone out of his way, broken out of jail to make sure she has not died. He almost gets sucked into hell, and she's just kind of like, do I want to save this guy? And she does, but still, it's like that pause was a little too long.
Yeah, it's a little too like, I don't know, ungrateful, I guess. But she does do it. She saves the day, right? She should have grabbed Jason too. She should have just been like, you know what, Jason, you didn't do that bad. Let me take you out. Or what? Right? Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, oh, I'll save you, bro. Like, I think he says, get him, cuz.
Just save him. Like, you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. But no, this movie, I think, is mostly known for its ending tease, which is crazy to me, of Freddy's glove coming up and grabbing Jason's mask and taking it down to hell fully. But that wouldn't happen until 10 years later, the Freddy versus Jason movie that they were trying to set up.
Yeah, that was the ultimate end goal, was to do Freddy versus Jason, and because New Line owned both properties, but unfortunately it kept getting stalled for a very, very long time.
Yeah, so, I'm sure that was hell to make.
So that it didn't happen, but I don't know. I guess it's almost a good thing they waited, because there was a lot of CGI in the 2003 movies. So maybe it's a good thing they did wait.
Yeah, maybe it was a good thing. I was thinking, because looking at this movie and how cheap it looks, a Freddy versus Jason movie made like 2 years later probably would have like looked really bad. It would have been probably poorly done.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. But no, so Friday the 13th, huh? We made it here. Well, Jason went to hell. Oh, what's up?
So, okay, I know you told me you didn't like it.
No.
But let me ask you this. If this was not even in this continuity of Friday the 13th, this is just a completely original movie.
Yeah,
would that change your opinion?
I think so. I because I've been thinking about it a lot. Because I compared it to Halloween 3, and Halloween 3 I really like, but there's something about coming in 9 movies and then it just like changes so much. Jason is like in it for just a little bit, and then it just kind of stops being a Jason movie. But if it was its own thing, I think it would be really silly, really fun, straight to VHS, like good time. But just didn't feel like quite like Friday the 13th to me.
I agree. It's definitely, I mean, as a Friday the 13th movie, it pretty much fails on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
But putting that aside, I thought it was pretty fun to watch. I mean, it certainly, I was just like, you know what, that wasn't wasn't the worst thing I've seen. And I mean, it's not very good, but still, it's like I would put that above some of the other Friday the 13th movies we've seen. So
it's better than the last one. So the one before this. So
yeah, absolutely. So as it's probably would be easier for it to not be in this series, but take it for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much we could do with it. It is here, and it's just gonna forever. Whenever you go through Friday the 13th marathon, it's there. You gotta watch it.
You have to watch it.
Yeah, there's no skipping it. But I mean, if it's hard to even like, I get it, because I see a mix of both. I think over time, most people don't like this movie, but it definitely has its defenders. It has its people that are like, this is a really fun movie. So take my opinion with a grain of salt. As I will always say, watch it for yourself, and you'll know if you like it or not. So,
from what I've seen, this is probably one of the most polarizing movie of the entire series. That people are either like, oh, it was so wacky, I loved it, or it's the other camp where it's just like, how could you do this type of thing? So I think it's appropriate that it's a polarizing split. We have two differing opinions, so it's very appropriate.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that's Jason Goes to Hell. I was happy to watch it. I guess it's because I don't really recommend it, but you recommend it, so we'll call it a split. A drive-in, go to another screen, or stay at the screen. I don't know.
I mean, there's two screens there. One's playing Jason Goes to Hell, and the other one's playing, I don't know, Cop or something.
yeah. There we go. Yeah, Cop. I don't know. The Cop might have no cars in front of it. And then we just added a third screen for Wired, and I don't know why no one's showing up.
Would you go see Wired at a drive-in? If a drive-in was like a mile away from your house, because I know it's far away for us, but
for the sake of the show, if for whatever reason they were like, we have Wired on film, we're showing it at the drive-in, I'd have to. I feel like we would be required to. But I don't think that day will come.
Probably not, no.
Yeah. But I guess tomorrow's the big day. Tomorrow is the unlucky day, Friday the 13th. And what do you got for us tomorrow, Ryan?
Nothing. This was the final one.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Very unlucky. We planned a 5-day movie week and we only got 4 movies. What are we going to do?
Well, I do have this other movie. It's not a Friday the 13th movie. It's just this other random movie called Jason X.
Okay.
So,
there's a Jason in these movies, so I guess it'll work.
So that's why we're talking about Jason and the Argonauts. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. That's great movie. I love Jason and the Argonauts.
No, I'm kidding. It's the final singular movie of this series, which is Jason X, the 10th movie. Jason Goes to Space.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to get to that one. And then that's not streaming anywhere, right?
No, right. You'll have to buy that one, I'm afraid.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed this podcast, or if you have any Friday the 13th memories, send us an email over at driveindoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. Also, you can tweet at us at DIDFpod. But until next time.
Until next time.